2025, and we're coming to you live from the studios of News Talk 93 FM, right here on the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. To participate throughout the course of the program this morning, our numbers are 876-212-9824. That is 876-212-9824 or 876-462-0919. That's 876-462-0919. We're also streaming live, listeners, at newstalk93fm.net. To listen on your smartphones and devices, please go to the App Store or the Play Store and download News Talk 93 FM's app. We are across social media platforms as well. On Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, we are at News Talk 93 FM. And on X, formerly Twitter, we are at News_93 FM. To advertise with us, please call our sales agents at 876-427-9955, or you may email our sales department at newstalk93fm sales@gmail.com. In terms of what we have in the program this morning, in a moment I'm gonna play a recording because it contains some very important contextual and factual information as presented by the Minister of Science, Energy, Technology and Transport. And that is a conversation that has the Rural School Bus Initiative, the Rural School Bus System in sharp focus. So that comes up momentarily. At 10:10, we will have a conversation with the President of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, that's Mr. Mitra Siaga, on some matters pertinent to CARICOM, and of course focusing attention on action going forward, particularly as it will relate to and impact businesses across the region. At 10:30, when we return from the 10:30 break, I'm going to seek to have a dialogue with my brother, Colin Bell, aka Shaka Fame, noted vlogger, and of course the PNP's the opposition's deputy spokesperson on culture and the creative industries. But we're not speaking to him really in that capacity. We're speaking to him as a father and a stakeholder in rural Jamaica and an advocate of the PNP and someone who is averse to what the government is putting forward insofar as the rural school bus system. He's not averse to the rural school bus system. He has some other perspectives and ideas, and I dare say Colin Bell and myself will be having, I trust, a useful dialogue and a reasoning in relation to same. Now, listeners, it is quite evident that out of concern and a political calculation that the government will be scoring points and will be accruing political capital as a result of the imminent and impending rural school bus system. The PNP did the knee-jerk thing, did the superficial thing, and ran out in opposition to it. They have run out, they have committed themselves down the wicket, and as such, they're not able to walk it back at this stage. They are not in a position to walk it back. They have run out, and the first salvo, one of the first salvo they have fired came from their reckless spokesperson on education, Damian Crawford, talking about the rural school bus system merely being a mechanism to enrich operatives in the government. So that's the usual kind of Damian Crawford logic. He's not a person who one should pay much mind to. Not the most sober, not the most erudite, and I dare say not one to be taken seriously, really. So he ran out with that kind of argument that, hey, the government is simply seeking to line somebody's pockets by coming with the school bus system. Absolute rubbish. And then you had another man who equally is not the most erudite, not the most sober either, particularly with his stocks plummeting in recent years. He's the same man who told an untruth in relation to a project down at the Prattville Primary and Infant School, arguing that works on that school in South Manchester. And I'm speaking, by the way, here of Peter Bunting. Yeah? Senator Peter Bunting alleged that works at Prattville was not going on at pace because the contractor was not being paid or was not paid, when nothing of the sort was the case. So these guys, Damien Crawford, Peter Bunting, Mark Golding, you don't attach much premium or any premium at all to what you hear them say. They are simply being motivated by their despicable and vulgar politics, and as such, they are doing public discourse a disservice. And so Peter Bunting, last Friday over there in Falmouth, took to the political platform and mentioned that the buses that the government is bringing in will kill off poor people picnic. And his sidekick, Mark Golding, we don't know who leading who, but I suspect Bunting is the puppet master, with Mark Golding being the puppet, of course. So Mark Golding, for his part, mentioned that these are old buses. Yeah? Old buses. Because they're seeking to weave a narrative that suggests that these are buses that are of no good and that have been discarded in the US. When in truth and in fact, the US, they manufacture these buses, and so they're able to renew and refresh their fleet more readily and at quicker intervals. But it doesn't render the respective buses useless and defunct. It doesn't render the buses obsolete. And that is why you have a first world country like Canada purchasing some of these buses that have been refreshed out of the system. Well, that are out of the system based on their continuous refreshing cycle there in the US. These same buses that are coming to Jamaica make their way from time to time to Canada. And Canada is a much more developed country. A far more developed country than is Jamaica. Yeah? Anyway, I decided this morning to have my listeners benefit from words from the minister's mouth. Daryl Vaz was speaking with one of the more sober, patriotic, and astute bloggers or vloggers in social media land. And he attended upon the vlog called Jamaica Politics Uncovered with the host, Natalie Stack, a lady who was previously a PNP member and had previously been a PNP sympathizer, and like Craig Oates, yes, have since seen the light and have elected to turn their back on the godforsaken PNP and lend their support at this time to the governing Jamaica Labour Party. So Natalie Stack was interviewing last evening on YouTube the Minister of Science, Energy, Technology and Transportation, Daryl Vaz, and this in part was the exchange between those two persons. Madam Producer, I trust you have that queued up, and we're going to pick up and go ahead and play.
Are concerned, the controversy that the opposition is trying to raise, I think is, first of all, it was a matter of safety. So first you heard them saying that, the buses are old, the buses were retired in the US. Here's the minister calling back. Hold on, guys. Hello, Minister, you're live. Thank you for calling back.
No problem.
Yes, so you're live here with Jamaica Politics Uncovered. Welcome to the channel. Everybody's here waiting to hear the hear what you have to say this evening. But I won't keep you long because I know that you're busy this evening. So welcome. I feel like you've already put the safety matter to rest where the school buses are concerned. And you've done very well with that, let me say. So with that, the next talking point now of the opposition minister is that the cost seems to be a problem for the opposition. They said that 1.4 billion is.
So let me clarify for you and for your viewers and your listeners. And let me start off by saying that the opposition's behavior towards this initiative, which is one of the most transformative policy initiatives since independence, is downright evil, wicked, and bad mind on steroids, and they must not be allowed to get away with it. Let me just go back in history. The JLP under Mike Henry tried to introduce a rural school bus system in 2011. We lost the election and Omar Davis locked it down. We had 230 buses that we were going to bring over 4 years with the first set of 65. And it was cancelled, the order for the 65, and it was scuttled on the basis that it was unsustainable and not affordable. In 2013, JUTC tried to do the same thing by putting 20 buses as a pilot for rural school bus, again scuttled and locked down by the PNP. So this will be the third attempt, and this one is not going to fail because the buses are going to roll out in September. What I can say to you very clearly and categorically is that they have gotten the backlash from the people of Jamaica. And now they are using their bloggers to spread mischief and propaganda because they can't open their mouth again. These are the facts. The 110 buses will arrive in Jamaica between now and the end of July. 26 are here and 14 are being cleared tomorrow. That puts us at 40. And the rest of them will come on weekly shipments from Miami over the next 3 weeks. So that is a done deal. The cost is $1.4 billion. The $1.4 billion covers the cost of the buses, the inland transport to get them to the ports in Miami, the freight, sea freight from Miami to Kingston, the retrofitting of the doors, and also the refurbishing. It also covers 1 year maintenance, which is going to be done under the strictest conditions, similar to what the Department of Transport stipulates for the states in the 52 states. So we're not moving away from that. It also is going to have the technology of a cashless system, fare collection system, and each bus is going to have 5 cameras. One for the driver, one to look at the kids, one for the geofencing, and all of those will be accessible by the schools. And last but not least, there's a duty component that we have to pay when the buses arrive here, which is factored in it as well. So here is where the mischief comes about, based on what they are posting and putting out there. The government of Jamaica only pays for the buses when the buses are arrived in Jamaica, landed and cleared.
Okay.
That's when we pay for the buses. So right now, we have only paid or in the process of paying for the first 26 buses. So the invoice that is being circulated is for 26 buses out of 110. And what they are doing is dividing the 26 buses into the $1.4 billion because they are dunce, they are dark, and they are stupid.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Mr. There's something that circulates. I mean, what is this?
Let me tell you something. I am so bitter against this type of behavior. And I know Jamaica And I know Jamaicans are upset. And I know that they're going to do the right thing, which is to reject them across the length and breadth of Jamaica for their wicked, evil comments. So getting back to the point now, because I don't want the emotions to take me off of the facts, right? They are using an invoice for 26 or 25 buses and divided it into $1.4 billion.
Right.
This minister is accessible, and the transport shadow minister, Michael Phillips, and the energy shadow minister, Philip Palwell, send me queries regularly on portfolio responsibilities, information that they want about the GPS license, or they want to know about the taxes and the carriage or whatever. They have not sought to call me or request from me any clarifications on this. All they want to do is to create mischief and to continue their bad mind ways. And I'm not going to allow it. This minister is here to serve the people of Jamaica, and I don't need to be involved in any form of corruption because I'm independent. So when they try and now say what they're trying to do, and let me tell your listeners and your viewers, is that they want to put a shroud of corruption over this because of the issue of corruption among politicians and governments. Not specific to this one, to all. There's a mistrust that has been developed over decades. This minister is transparent. This minister is accountable to the people of Jamaica. And more than ever, this minister don't have no luck. Because my name easy to call. So if you think that I'm going to make them get an opportunity to call my name, they don't know Darrell Vaz. Right? The issue of the inspection is done by state under terms and conditions stipulated by the Department of Transport of the United States government. All of the buses that are coming to Jamaica have the inspection certificate for 2025 that was done prior to us buying the buses. Therefore, the bottom line is I don't need, because those are specialized inspectors and conditions that are laid out by the Department of Transport. So it's 3 different inspections that are going to be done. One is by the Department of Transport criterias, which is done in all 52 states either yearly or biannually. That means twice a year. The JUTC engineers went up there to inspect the buses themselves prior to us finalizing the purchase of them. And lastly, when they come to Jamaica, they have to now be inspected by the Island Traffic Authority in order to get a certificate of fitness. That's 3. So the inspection in Miami by the Trade Board appointed inspector, they do regular used cars and used vehicles. So they don't go to the extent of what is required by the U.S. Department of Transport, which are specialized inspections that go further than a regular inspection of just ordinary car because of the safety and the fact that these are specialized buses for school children. So it's a different level. So I don't need to go through that inspection, hence the reason why it was waived, because they would not be able to perform what was done in the states, the 52 states. So it's 3 different inspections. And it would have been 4, but the 4th one would have not gone to the extent of what is required for these specialized vehicles. So again, they are saying that, one thing is saying that the buses have been decommissioned and are not fit and proper for the United States transport system. Bus transport system, rubbish. They have on the 25 inspection tags. And the reason why these buses come about is because there is a huge subsidy provided by the U.S. government of approximately $5 billion over the last few years to encourage the operators and manufacturers of these buses to change them out quicker rather than later and keep the fleet newer. rather than older.
Okay.
So these buses have in a Cummins diesel engine that have a lifeline of 500,000 miles.
That's a lot.
And the fact that or divide that, we will have 10 years or 10 to 15 more years of life on the oldest bus, on the highest mileage bus. On top of which, the average age of the taxis in the public transportation system in Jamaica today is 14 years. Before I brought in the 230 buses into JUTC, the average fleet age was 14 years. And for the buses, the coastal buses, etc., that ply in the public transportation system, some of them are 18 years old. So when you talk about old bus, when you equate it to what exists in Jamaica now, they are the newest buses because they are averaging 10 years old. Plus, they were used in the United States to transport children morning and evening under the most rigid maintenance schedule. So that alone makes the buses that much more maintained, and chances of them giving trouble are much less because of the rigid maintenance schedule. So once again, I am ready for them. Anything that they come with, I will rebut because I have the information, I have the facts, and I used to be in the car business prior to politics. So I know the automobile industry.
Okay.
These buses have been used in the United States school bus system from 1937. From when I was a child watching video on TV and you watch movie, you see the yellow buses. If you go to the United States, you don't pass 2 miles before you see them in the morning and evening because they are all over transporting children. So again, my plea is that the Jamaican people in the diaspora, in Jamaica, anywhere they are, understand what is being done. And it is politics at the expense of the rural school children and their parents who have been suffering for decades, and they are finally going to get some relief. And this is the response of the...
All right, so listeners, you're listening there to an exchange, an interview the Transport Minister Daryl Vaz had on our YouTube program last evening. We're going to pick up with the rest of that interview when we return from our 9:30 break. I'm urging you to stay with us. You're hearing from who may just have joined us. We are going through the audio of an interview between a vlogger last evening on her YouTube platform and our Transport Minister Daryl Vaz, with the rural school bus system being in sharp focus. As you will appreciate, it has become the subject of considerable debate, with the opposition PNP seeking to bring the initiative into disrepute and shroud it in controversy. And as you will continue to hear in this bit of audio, the Transport Minister, like myself, is having none of it. We're going to resume the audio. It is Daryl Vaz with vlogger Natalie Stack.
The wicked, evil Peter Bunting, Michael Phillips, Mark Rowling, Dayton Campbell, Damian Crawford. Some of them are rural MPs who should know more than anybody else what the parents and students go through. Some of them were rural MPs who are now trying to return as rural MPs because they were rejected. My call, reject them out of hand. Reject them out of hand. They are the wickedest, most evil, most disgusting set of people I've ever come across. When you start to play with people's children and livelihood and wish that bus kill off picnic, which I'm accused of the government of, and its old bus, I can categorically state the reason why they're saying that is because none of them ever take a rural school bus or a taxi to go to school in their day.
Yeah.
Right? Them used to have driver. I went to school with Mark Rowland. I went to school with Peter Bunting. So I know.
You went to Campion too?
I went to Campion too. And I was just a year below. And I can tell you something. The only reason why I know is because I stay close to my people. Because I was also privileged. And I also had my mother, our father, our driver, take me to school in the morning. But that makes me no less passionate. Right? And they are a sick set of people.
When you guys were in school, were they nicer than they are today?
You know the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter, when it comes to politics, I am not one of those who get personal. I stay, because I've been the subject of so many nasty rumors and innuendos, etc. But I know why, because of my strength, right? Of how I operate and how I connect with people, etc. So I know that I'm a target. And I know that I'm their worst nightmare. Right now, every PNP in Jamaica dream about me. I have nightmares about me every night because of this initiative that I have put forward, which they knew was going to have a political impact. And instead of embracing it and saying, we'll endorse this and we are committed to doing better if you vote us in. No, I don't want that.
But Minister,
I want to go with the nastiness.
Let me just make you aware too. Of the 14 members of parliament on the opposition side, only 14%, which is 2 of them, were speaking publicly against the school bus program. 86% of the parliamentarians on the opposition benches, they agree with what is going on. That's why you don't see many PNP MPs coming out and saying the things that they are saying. But when you are going around the country, I'm sure that people are, talking and you are hearing them. Let me
tell you something. I went this morning, and I'm still in Manchester as we speak. I went to the Municipal Corporation this morning for a meeting with JUTC because I intend to expand the JUTC route from Spanish Town to Mandeville based on the new highway. So we had a long meeting there, and that was very successful. And then I left and went up to the new candidate in Northeast Manchester, Audrey Marks, and I spent the rest of the day with her. I went to the Transportation Center to make sure that some improvements that I had committed to are going to be done. And then I took off my government hat and went into the fields with Audrey Marks. And I spent about maybe 4 or 5 hours driving and stopping through the constituency. And everywhere I went, it was only one thing and one thing only that the people were speaking to me about. And that was a rural school bus. And whether or not it was going to serve their areas, etc. Nothing, zero else. No water, no light, no rural electrification, no road. Even some of the roads that were on that were in deplorable condition. That was not the cry. The cry was, don't ease up, Minister. We need the school bus them. Don't ease up. Burn out the bad mind them. And it was coming from all across, not only JLP that came out in their green and them armband and them green cloth. Ordinary citizens, I don't even know whether they are Labourite or PNP or no P, but it was right across. And I expect it to continue because I know the fallout that the PNP is feeling now. Because it is, people are so incensed. They are so disgusted. And now they're trying to talk now about price and this and that. Look here, I have every single document. I managed this thing myself to make sure that there was no gray areas and I ticked all the boxes. Easiest thing is to do is to buy the buses. The hardest thing now is the implementation to make sure that they work and function are maintained to be able to serve the rural communities come September morning onwards.
Okay.
The fare of $50 per trip is a subsidized fare because right now it is costing $300 to $600 per student per day. And some parents have to decide between the 4 picnic them have, which one look the brightest, and put all of their money and invest in that one, and the other 3 lose the opportunity to get a good education because of affordability. So now, at $100 a day, Miss Matty can send her 4 picnics to school for $400 a day rather than the $300 to $600. And that is what is burning them. But you listen to me good and proper. I'm going to give them bus under bus under bus under bus. I'm going to give them JUTC bus. I'm going to give them school bus. If you see them out of Bellevue, and you see them out there, and you hear them and says bus, 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 you know, so the bus mad them. Because they are well on the way to Bellevue.
Oh my
They are a
goodness.
sick set of people.
So you think this is going to cost them politically?
It is going to cost them. Let me tell you something. I have a saying that you would have heard me say before. Tom drunk, but Tom not fool. Never you ever underestimate the people of Jamaica. They may not have the educational background by getting them diploma and getting them certificate and going to university and going to high school. They are not stupid. They know how to assess, and they have something called common sense, which is not common. Only a few of us have common sense. The rest of us have diplomas and big degrees. I don't have none, you know. I have zero. So the only thing I have is common sense, and that is what drives me to do what I do and do it well.
Okay.
And I'm saying to you and your listeners and your viewers, this is a defining moment. If the people of Jamaica choose the opposition in the upcoming election, I state categorically that they are going to lock down the school bus system as it stands now in terms of the importation of the school buses. My commitment, and by the way, I don't even want to mention the 20,000 families with $2,500 a week, because it's the same $1.4 billion, and it does nothing to improve the transportation methodology for the students. Because they're going to be using the same taxes that you have seen the statistics in terms of the police that we outlined yesterday at the press conference of the amount of children, rural school children that have been killed in accidents and 700 and odd injured over the last 3 years.
Wow.
Right? And all that is going to do is put $1.4 billion in the system that has no transparency, no accountability, and you won't even know whether or not the children get to school, don't get to school, nothing at all.
That's the question I was going to ask you next, is that there are parents on here, I'm sure, from rural Jamaica. Can you talk to them about how, the drivers of these buses will be, selected, for one, and number two, as far as accountability, the kids getting to where they need to be on time, and things like that. Because I hear some principals even saying, boy, the people them come to school late and can't get in a bus. So how does that system work?
All right, so two things. Let's start with the first one. The JUTC has been advertising in each parish to get drivers that reside in the parishes that the buses are going to be allocated to.
Okay.
And that's for logistics purposes. The drivers will be trained by the JUTC. And most importantly, no driver will get to the point of where they are being trained without a full background check and a police record. Secondly, a camera will be focused on the driver in the driver's seat to monitor his activities. Thirdly, the bus will be geofenced, meaning if it comes off of the specified route, it will be notified. Fourthly, there's a cashless system for fare collection, which your parents can top up just like when you top up your phone.
Mm-hmm.
But most importantly, the child will be required to swipe the card on entry and on exit of the bus. And the parents will have an app that they will be able to know when their children board the bus and when the child leaves the bus. Also, the school will also have access to that. So they'll be able also to monitor the children. The school laws, regulations, the buses are guided by that. The buses are an extension of the school.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the rules and regulations are for the school is for the bus. We will have wardens on the bus to make sure. We will have, in some cases, I suspect teachers who live in the communities that the buses are applying. We won't object to them getting the bus to school because they'll help to keep the discipline, etc.
Okay.
But most importantly, we will make sure that the school, and this is something the Ministry of Education is doing right now, to look at the routes and look at the time of school to see whether or not there's any tweaking that needs to take place, because the buses are going to do probably 2 round trips every morning. Plus they have to do in the day for shift schools, and of course in the evening to get them back. So the 8 o'clock in the morning may be tight because you don't want the kids out there too early, especially in the darkness, etc., etc. So we have to time it where it is reasonable and function depending on the time and the distance to get to school from the for the particular route. So all of these things, we're working through the Ministry of Education and going through with as detailed as possible to make sure that when we launch in September, there'll be teething pains. Well, nothing that you start new is not going to have teething pains, as well as you plan it out. But guess what? Fact of the matter is, this is a holistic approach. This is not just a buy the bus, man, whatever happen. We're going through from the purchase of the bus straight through to the end game, which is to get the children there safe, cost effective, on time, and get them back home.
Okay.
We guarantee, as government, that phase 1 will cover 258 schools, and approximately 180,000 students would have access. All of them obviously won't take it, not necessarily, depending on proximity, etc. And there is 653 schools in rural Jamaica. My commitment on behalf of my government is that we will roll out over the next 2 years to satisfy all schools in rural Jamaica with the buses that are required. These 100 buses here, so far, the 100 routes have gone to 122 routes. And they're still being tweaked as we speak based on consultations that's taking place. But it is estimated that a minimum of 28,000 students will utilize this service every day.
Wow.
And the question about whether or not this is going to cause a rift between the public transport operators. I said yesterday and I'll say here again, you have not heard one taxi association or one taxi driver in the public transportation system hit out against this system. You know why? Because as it stands now, their license requires them to take the children at a reduced rate. So they are not getting full fare, and therefore the children are not priority when they should be priority. And that is why the cry of no schoolers is a cry around rural Jamaica every morning and every evening, because they want to take the higher paying passenger so that their business will be more viable, which I have no problem with at all, because obviously. So me taking off 28,000 kids every morning off of them allows them to be able to concentrate more on the full paid passengers and not subject the students to the abuse of putting them hanging through windows in the back of the taxis with the tail up and their legs outside exposed, with sitting on males, young females sitting on males' lap, right? Being terrorized by rogue taxi operators for sexual favors, etc., etc., etc. Look here, you have to be a rural student and a rural parent to understand and hear some of the horror stories that take place with these young innocent children on a daily basis because of the fact that they are disadvantaged because they are not priority. I am going to make them priority. Way overdue, long in coming, but I'm only Minister of Transport since May 2023.
I was just going to ask you.
What I'm doing, I've done in 2 years.
Yeah,
I brought 230 new buses into JUTC, and I brought the first 110. By the way, it's 110, not 100. The 10 additional are not going into the system. They are contingency, located all around the island. In the event that a bus goes down, for whatever reason, we have a replacement bus.
Okay. So when did you decide that you were going to use these yellow school buses for the students? Was it just 2 years ago?
When I became minister in 2023, I made a commitment for a rural transportation school system. We explored several different templates. All of them were unaffordable to the government. It cost from 8 billion to 20 billion because what we had originally thought is that we could pay full fare, subsidize the fare and pay the full fare so that the students wouldn't be at a disadvantage, and we use dedicated buses in the transport sector to do it. It was unaffordable.
Okay.
We tried another one, unaffordable. So this was a last resort because I realized that this is a national emergency. I realized that we can't go to another September with the situation with the children being killed on the roads and the abuse and the accidents and injuries. So I decided to look and see which school system, bus system, that was closest to Jamaica, that was the most workable one. And that was North America, because it is considered the gold star of school bus transportation across the globe. It's been in effect from 1937, and they have it right. Bottom line is, it's not ideal for Jamaica because of the left-hand drive.
Yeah.
And the door on the wrong side, but we're retrofitting that. These buses have a governor on them, so they can't go past a certain speed. And we are going to monitor the buses real time to make sure that the children are safe and secure and they're getting to school in the mindset to learn, because when they get to school now, it is very difficult for them to learn because they are traumatized by virtue of the circumstances on which they had to subject themselves to get to school.
I didn't know it was that bad.
It is absolutely, let me tell you something. There are some rural school kids that wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. They don't get back home until 8, 9 o'clock at night by virtue of the fact that they can't get transportation. And they're expected to do their homework, do whatever, go to bed, get a good night's sleep, and wake up back again at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning.
It's not feasible.
It's not only feasible, it doesn't all go well for the future of Jamaica.
That's true.
Because guess what? You're not producing literate children to be able to aspire to become leaders in the business sector, in corporate Jamaica, in governance, overseas, in professions, doctors, lawyers, whatever. So we are losing a lot of potential within our children because we are not providing them with the proper basic services for them to excel. We spend $8 billion a year on school feeding program. That's what the government spends. And I'm spending $1.4 billion on a transportation system, because guess what? You could give them breakfast, lunch, and dinner if they are not in the right frame of mind to learn, that they can concentrate, that they are not distracted, that they're not traumatized. You're not getting their full attention, and they're not grasping and getting the full educational learning that is being taught to them. And that's what makes me so sick in relation to the response of the opposition. I'm going to close by telling you that if I have to lead this charge on my own, I'm going to do it. Because it means that much to me as a rural MP. Forget about minister now. It's only coincidental that I'm Minister of Transport and a rural MP. Yes? And all I want is the support of the Jamaican people, wherever they are in the world, to make sure that the PNP pays for this. In politics, there are some things that you can't apologize for. Some things you can't backtrack on because they are fundamental. And this is one of them. So no matter how much excuse you hear them and this, that is only political, trying to salvage political capital. But a spoken word can never be withdrawn. And that's why you must think before you speak. And they have doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down. Right? Bunting said he would never. Bunting is a candidate in South Manchester after being an MP in Central Manchester and losing one time after winning 3 times. Forsake the people and have the nerve to go next door in South Manchester because he believes it's a political safer seat. Well, I'm telling you something. The people of South Manchester must reject him out of hand. Firstly, for leaving Central Manchester, which means he has no commitment to nothing. And secondly, for his utterances about these school buses that the government bringing is to kill off